everyone. I am Ken from Copperland, and we're presenting another exciting video on going out and getting gold and living on gold. Today we're going to talk about RC aircraft and why you need RC aircraft. RC stands for radio control aircraft. Now a lot of people think these quadcopters are drones, airplanes are drones. No. They're radio-controlled aircraft. You have quadcopters, you've got fixed wing. A lot of most of the sales are quadcopters because they're cheap. They're like cheap toys. But they're not really good tools unless you pay upwards of $1,000 to $2,000 for a good quadcopter. Well, we're going to show you how to put together an even better platform for going out and doing your geological in-field studies. You need to have a surveillance study on the areas you want to go into, or else you're wasting years of work going out into the field and just stomping the hills, the valleys, and you're not going to find a lot of gold that way. First of all, you have to start in an area where people have found gold, but then you've got to really use some intelligence and some training to get up above the geology and take a look around. A lot of people use Google Earth or Google Maps to do that, but they don't really give you the kind of detail that you need to zero in on your geologic formations or even gold trends that are in the hills. So this is going to be an introductory video on radio-controlled aircraft for your in-field geology surveillance. That's a big part of getting on the gold. And we're going to show you how to convert just about any model wing. There are a lot of foam wings out there that people put together. They buy them already made, or they buy the basic platform and put all the motors and everything together themselves. Well, that's basically what we're doing here. Now the model that we ordered in is from Sonic Model. It's called the AR Wing Pro, and the whole airplane comes in this box. It's not all assembled when you get it. You assemble it yourself. And this one, I did not order in any of the motor parts or the control parts. We ordered those separately because we're putting the whole thing together from scratch. Now in this box, you get the center fuselage. This is where your wings attach on the two sides. And you get a couple of wings. You have the ailerons, or in our case these are going to be flaperons, flapped and aileron together. They basically just push together like so, and they have a little screw that goes in there to hold them on. Well, we're not going to disassemble this to take it to the field. This is going to be put together one time, and it's going to stay together, the fuselage, the wings, everything on there. You have to figure out from this wing design how you're going to get to a VTOL, or Vertical Takeoff and Landing. Now the wing VTOLs look like this when they're on the ground. They're pointed straight up in the air. Well, that means you have to have some way of holding this whole aircraft above the ground, because your motor's going to be, one of your motors will be mounted right on the back. And obviously you have to have some clearance for the propeller. We're also going to mount motors on the front of the aircraft in about that position. You can see better that way. So we're going to have two differential props on the front and one thruster prop, and that'll be a directional thruster on the back. And it'll have to sit about 8 to 10 inches off the ground in a vertical position. So that's the basic concept for the design. Now to get there, we're going to show you step by step all the materials you need, how to fabricate the parts. We're fabricating all the parts from scratch material. Some of the materials we're going to use are, this is aluminum L bracket, and it's 1 inch angle bracket. We're working with mostly aluminum because aluminum is light, it's stiff, it's strong, and you don't want to add a lot of weight. So we're using some aluminum angle. That's 16th inch wall. 16th inch is really strong for a model. Don't need it any thicker than that. We have 16th inch strap. Another piece, you can buy this stuff from your local hardware. It's 16th inch by, this one's 1.5 inches, and they come in 4-foot lengths. So we use some of that. We have 16th inch C-channel. We use some C-channel in our design. Other pieces we use are 16th inch flat plate. So you have a pretty good variety of material. All of it is 16th inch because it doesn't have to be any thicker, and it shouldn't be a lot thinner. It could be 1/32 or 0.040 if you want that, but we're sticking with 16th inch. Now as you're making these models, you have to have a bunch of tools. You have to have, of course, a good ruler. We've got inches and millimeters. I use short pieces of tape ruler. These are real easy to work with. We have a variety of tools like pliers, screwdrivers, X-Acto knives, things like that. We have a variety of glues. B7000 is a good one. UHU pour. That's a hot glue gun. So we have a good variety of glues to work with. This is a really good all-around glue, the B7000. You could do the entire model with just that. Other things that we're working with are, this is a foam cutter. It's a hot iron. You plug it in, it gets hot. You can carve foam with that little needle. It gets real hot, and you can make channels or carve out little sections in your model. We'll also show you how to take things like copper tubing, heat up the copper tubing, and use that copper tubing to pierce round channels through the foam. Some of the things we'll be doing are strengthening the basic model. They send an 8mm carbon fiber rod and that's supposed to give you the stiffness between the fuselage and the wing. But we're going to be adding in another strengthener up in this section, which would be 10 millimeter, so that'll double up on the wing strength. And since it isn't designed with a channel in here for the 10 millimeter, we'll show you how to put that in. And we'll show you how to cut your bracket material. We cut our pieces, a couple pieces like so, and turn that into motor mounts. That's a motor mount. And it starts out with a couple pieces of angle, and you turn it into a motor mount. And that's where your motor bolts on. And that material, this piece will be attached to aluminum rod. You can buy aluminum rod, aluminum tubing, brass tubing, things like that, or you can make your own. I made that 1/4 inch rod from a 1/2 inch rod on my lathe. And basically your motor mount will be attached to a rod, and then that'll be attached to the front of your plane. Back motor mount I made from a piece of strap. Start out with a piece of strap. It was just a straight piece that I bent into shape, and I cut out the parts that I didn't want on there to lighten it up. Drilled in a pivot hole, and okay, we've got a pivot pin, 1/4 inch aluminum pin, and this motor is the thruster. It's a directional thruster. And what it does is it pivots up and down to change the vertical thrusting on the airplane. That changes its elevator or up and down direction, and the two forward motors will be operated in differential mode, which is speed up one, slow down the other, and that gives you the rudder effect. So you don't need an elevator or a rudder with this design. The motors are doing all that. And of course, when you're doing a lot of work, it's good to have a pair of 3-power glasses. These are magnifying glasses. You get them down at your local either food store or the drugstore. They're cheap, about $8. I usually get as much power as I can because you want to get up close on your materials when you're working with fine materials, and you'll need it. So the whole idea here is, in order to find gold, you have to go to where it's been found before, or people have reported it being found. You need to investigate what the gold was running in, what type of material. You have to find out if there's much of a quantity, if there are any mines in the area, active mines or active claims. Stay out of the active claims. What you want to do is cover a lot of territory in a little bit of time. You start out by going to MRDS or Land Matters or something like that, and you find out what areas are open. Once you know what areas are open and you can actually go out and prospect, then you go to the Google Earth or Google Maps. You look at the topography, the satellite views, just to see what's there. But those don't give you enough detail to actually find the gold. To find the gold, you have to get up pretty close with some sort of radio-controlled aircraft, whether that's a quad or a fixed wing like we're doing. I like the fixed wing because it'll give you anywhere from an hour to 2 hours of loiter time versus 15 or 20 minutes. You can get maybe 40 minutes out of a quad if you get maybe a $1,500 or $2,000 aircraft. But the cheap ones, like, I'll show you one of these. This is a little $99 or $100 quadcopter. This will last maybe 8 or 10 minutes up in the air. It's okay to send it up right above you and spin it around and just see what's around you. That's real helpful too. But if you want to cover any ground, you're going to have to send your aircraft out there a mile or 2 miles to get a good picture of the vein structure. And when you're up in the air 400 feet up and you're looking around, you can see exactly where the veins are running. From the ground, you can't see it. Once you get up there, you can see the ridge backs. You can look at the colors of the magma. You can look at the feeder vein structures. You're going to know exactly where to go to do your sampling. And sampling is a whole other part of the process. As we get into this build, I'll show you how to buy inexpensive, this is a very inexpensive controller, it's like $60, and how to set that up to control that aircraft. The other things we'll cover are power amplifiers to extend your control signal out a couple miles, and RC control receivers, flight stabilizers, your mini cameras, that's a camera, micro camera. That's an 800 milliwatt transmitter for the camera, so you can transmit a couple of miles with that. There's your GPS to tell you where you're at. We're going to cover all that, and eventually we'll cover these are data telemetry transceivers, and that's for transmitting like GPS, position, heading, things like that. You want to know that. So that's it for now. That's our introduction. And like I said, we'll keep showing you as we go along how to put this thing together. We're putting special features into it so that this will work the best for getting young gold or doing any kind of surveillance you want to do. So we'll cover all that, and we'll see you in the next video. So take care, and if you want to transform yourself from a gold panning weakling into a beast of a miner, stay tuned. We're going to show you how to do it. Bye for now.